screen here. We're going to go right into this. So Karina Gould going on CP24 breakfast television show. They've had Polyev on before. They've had quite a few conservatives on. So I honestly am surprised to see Karina Gould on here, but we're going to watch it. So it's like a 5-minute clip here. She also went on CBC's The Current. I think we'll play it tomorrow. We can't really, it's brand new. It's kind of a podcast episode. So I don't want to play it right off the bat. It's CBC's podcast, but we'll play it tomorrow after they've had 24 hours. But anyways, Joe, good morning, by the way, buddy. Nice to see you back.
News in another race that we're following closely. This one to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as the leader also of the Liberal Party. But despite the majority of support from Liberal caucus for, it seems, Mark Carney.
Oh, Saul's joining in, guys. What's up?
Yeah, I was here. I ran to the bathroom before you got back.
Oh, okay. No worries. No worries. Yeah, sorry. I went and just made a cup of coffee and stuff. But
yeah.
Anyways,
I'm setting my camera
back into it. Yeah, no worries.
Chrystia Freeland, Karina Gould is looking to be potentially the dark horse in a race that she hopes will unify federal Liberals. Karina Gould, welcome to CP24 Breakfast this morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's talk about your party. Indeed, it's lagging pretty significantly in the polls recently. What do you see as the biggest issue facing the Liberal Party of Canada right now?
Well, look, if we're being honest, I think one of the reasons why we're lagging in the polls is because Canadians have lost trust in us as a government. And that's something that can happen after 9 years in government, but it's also because they want to feel heard and they want us to be focused on the issues that matter to them. And so I think for us, what we have to do is we have to re-earn that trust by listening to Canadians and focusing on what matters. And for me, that's really affordability. I mean, people are struggling to make ends meet. They've been telling us as a government for a couple of years that they need help with this. And so my big push is that we have to do things to make life more affordable for Canadians.
Some of that trust also seems tied to the outgoing leader, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister and leader of the party here. You've been part of that government since day one in 2015. How will you try to separate yourself from Justin Trudeau while also appealing to Liberals who either do like Justin Trudeau or are happy to see him leaving?
Well, so I think it's also about what we've been able to accomplish. And, you know, I'm very proud of a lot of what we have done. I was responsible for negotiating the child care agreement, for example, here in Ontario, which has saved.
You know, I don't understand what's going on. Did she really think she has a chance of winning this leadership race? Because I really don't think she does. I think it's definitely Mark Carney or maybe Freeland. But Freeland also went on and was praising Trudeau recently. So I don't know how that's going to go with her rallying some more support. Whereas it seems like, you know, Carney's been able to kind of not really remove himself from Trudeau, but like a bit better, I feel like, than Chrystia Freeland
More than she has, for sure. Yeah.
Thousands of dollars.
I also think that there's a lot of people will run and then they'll drop out as soon as they don't think it's viable anymore, right? It's worth everybody throwing the hat in the ring just in case, like, what if they ran Mark Carney and he just didn't have the sauce, like, and nobody liked him, and it'd be good to have backups in that case, just in case he doesn't end up being the most popular candidate, right? I mean, even if we know that now, but she announced before we really saw any of that, right?
Yeah.
Households across this province and across the country.
Is Karina Gould part of the WEF? I've never heard any of that. I don't really think it matters. Honestly, like you know, everyone's saying what they want, but Trump's seems to have welcomed the
Pretty
WEF
cozy with them
with
too,
open
yeah.
arms. So yeah, and now and someone brought up the fact that he's getting involved in foreign affairs now. So something he said he wasn't going to do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's the peace
Proud of
president.
things like the Canada Child Benefit, and I'm proud of what we've done on fighting climate change, but there's more that we need to do. So when I think about, for example, here in Toronto and in the GTA, you know, we didn't act fast enough when it came to public safety, when it came to things like auto theft, when it came to things like the rise in crime, and we need to do more in that space. Also, when it comes to when Canadians were saying at the end of the pandemic that they were suffering with inflation, we eventually got there, but it took us too long. And so I think it's about recognizing where we went wrong, the mistakes that we made, and acknowledging that that's okay that we did that. And what I bring to the table is I'm not too proud to say we've made mistakes. I'm listening to you, and here's how I'm going to be different moving into the future in a way that is beneficial for Canadians.
You've mentioned a couple of times.
Her whole motive this whole time has been like, I disagreed with Justin the whole time, but I just did what he said because he was my boss. Basically, is what she's been selling. It's just like that doesn't resonate very well with people. Like, oh, that just means you're going to do what you're told over putting the people first. So you thought it was a bad idea, but you paraded it around anyways because your boss told you to. You were just following orders. But see, I have a problem with that type of attitude. I have a problem with that mentality because it's just like at the same time, you should have
to an extent. Yeah.
Like, you know, carrying out the orders is one thing, but to like defend it as much as she did was another. You know what I mean? And then say I didn't agree with it the whole time. It's like, sorry, you're just lying to us for months on end. Basically, you're saying it's just like,
well, she's working with his government. I mean, I can make a good faith argument in the sense that, like, I wouldn't say Poilievre is responsible for holding Stephen Harper to every single decision he made that he disagreed with, right? But I mean, because Karina was so close to Trudeau's administration, I think it makes it a little hard for her to
it's
distance
also
herself from him.
the way she's selling it is like, if you disagreed, you should have been like, look, we're doing this. It's what we're, your attitude would have been different, right? Like, she didn't have a reluctant attitude with it all. Like, to me, it just means that she's not going to work on what she thinks is best for the people.
Well, yeah, I just think it's going to be impossible to spin it that way. And I think that Mark Carney is really the only one who has like
like the party was put above the people. Sorry, I gotta say.
Yeah. And I just mean that for Carney, I feel like at the very least he can do that. I mean, he did. That's what he said, right? Is that I did give him advice and he didn't always listen to that advice, right? And it's hard to say that like Carney was the puppeteer behind Trudeau
in a way,
the whole
like,
time.
He never listened. Like, it was like just he put him there.
I
as
doubt
a status,
he did.
I think.
Yeah,
it's possible he put him there just saying.
And ironically, I think
staff. Like, he's the governor of the Bank of England, the first foreigner in 332. You know, it's just like this. Like, it sounds great. He had dinner with the Pope. You know,
yeah.
Like,
well, and think about. I mean, even yesterday on stream, we were talking about how everything Trudeau does, even when we talk about with the parity cabinet, right? Having half female, half male, everything he does is performative. And I don't know if he actually has any of these beliefs in it, like sincerely, or if he's just pandering to people, right? And I think that the same thing with Carney. I mean, you could make that argument, yeah, that he only had him there because he thought it looked good.
Yeah. Anyways.
Times alluded to sort of affordability issues facing Canadians right now. One thing that distinguishes you from, for example, Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland is that you have said you're not going to scrap the consumer-facing carbon tax right now. That is something that a lot of people have said that's part of the affordability issue here. Why have you said you won't do that, and don't you think that seems essential to sort of move on for the Liberal Party?
Well, I think we have to be honest with Canadians. I mean, just because Pierre Poilievre says something doesn't mean it's true, and in fact, it's often not.
But Carney and Freeland also have said the same thing.
But I mean, I'm going to be honest with Canadians. When we talk about the price on pollution, that's, responsible for a big chunk of our emissions reduction. I hear Canadians when they say now is not the time to increase the price, and that's why I said I'm going to cancel the increase as of April 1st. But until we have a plan to replace that 10 to 15% of our emissions reductions, I don't think it's a responsible thing for us to do. And remember, here in Ontario and other provinces, people also get the carbon rebate. So for people here in our community, that's up to $1,200 a year that they get in return from the federal government. And so until you actually have a plan to replace that, I think we have to have an honest conversation with Canadians about what our climate policies look like, what our affordability policies look like. But I'm not just going to get rid of something because Pierre Poilievre has, basically told mistruths to Canadians about it. And what I bring to the table is an honest conversation and to be transparent about it. And what I would say is that while, we can absolutely and we should increase the industrial
pause
price.
For 1 sec, sorry.
Yeah.
I remember before you were mentioning the Canada Goose jacket, making her sound like out of touch. I think this is a really out of touch argument. The idea that there's poor people out there who are
my
like,
argument that the $2,000 jacket is a little, makes it you a little bit.
Well, no, I'm not agreeing with your argument.
Not a woman or person of the people.
I'm saying that this, in my mind, informs that more. The fact that she's acting like people who are poor are counting on this $1,200 rebate check at the end of the year. Like, nobody who's struggling thinks like that, right? They're not thinking,
what the hell? How far
I can finally get this $1,200
in a year. You know what I mean? Over a year.
Well,
It's
I mean,
like,
realistically,
it's like $100 average a month, right? Like, that's like,
if you're somebody who looks at your money as if it's like ups and downs, like you're looking at your money as in ins and outs, then that's a good thing. You do think about that. You're like, oh, at the end of the year, I get this money back. I'm getting taxed on this, but ultimately I get this back into my account before I'm ever going to miss it. But that's only if you're privileged enough to not be counting every dollar at the end of every 2 weeks, right? And people who do, they're not. What the hell does $1,200 at the end of the year do for them, right? So I mean, I don't know. That makes me feel like she's not really.
Well, like almost everybody living in a major city, if they're not above the poverty line, which is incredibly high now, it's like 90K in some cities.
I can make a hot take here too, and
living a pretty paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. Like, you don't have much of a choice, I think, in if you're living in the Vancouver area or the Toronto area, like in the major cities in Canada, like you're gonna have
just
a really
since everybody's
tough time.
I know everybody's going to agree with me that Karina Gould's out of touch, but I would also say that this is a more out of touch argument than what Krista Freeland said about Disney Plus, because really $12 a month makes no difference to somebody who would be counting on a $1,200 check like this. But $12 a month, if you're actually poor, it's like, oh yeah, that does add up every month. You know, that is an extra meal that I could be buying instead of that, right? If I'm not using it to cancel subscription services.
Whatever, dude. It was just such an out of touch argument because it's like Disney Plus is like the cheapest subscription, by the way. It's like $8.99. There's like such cheap plans. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I mean,
but like, it's such a stupid argument. The fact that we should talk about, you know, it's just it's so stupid. Like the fact she said that was just so dumb. And I don't know if she thought like, it memed so hard, but she got memed hard on that. And by the conservatives and online, dude. The fact that she's like, just cancel your Disney Plus. It's just like, okay, well, okay. Dude, that fixes all my problems, Christia. I just canceled that $12 a month subscription. Now, oh, my problems are they're improving. So it's $12 freaking dollars. You can't even buy rotisserie chicken for $12. This is a little bit of a.
This is a little bit of a straw man because I don't think she was saying that it's going to fix all your problems. But I'm just saying
she acted like it. She's like, just cancel your Disney Plus subscription. And like
if you listen to any financial,
so snarky and condescending.
If you listen to any financial advice person, this is literally the first thing they'll say to you. They'll say, you need to look at your money and see where you're leaking.
But it doesn't.
You can cancel right away.
I understand.
Get rid of those things right off the bat. That's the first piece of advice they would give you. So I'm just saying that her argument there, that's more in tune with somebody who's actually had to count their money before than something like this. That's all I was trying to draw I just wanted to, you know, people were liking that I was shitting on Karina Gould, so I had to piss off the chat so they can't completely agree with everything I'm saying. But I really do feel that way. I feel like the Krista Freeland thing, that's not necessarily an out of touch argument to me. This is out of touch.
Dude, you're out of touch for saying she's not out of touch. That's all I'm saying. It's like the idea.
So you don't think so? $12? No, I think if $12 doesn't matter
are
to
we
you,
really having this argument that canceling your Disney Plus was somehow going to be a big. You know, I understand what you're saying. I understand what cut excess spending. I get it. But what people want to hear right now is not that they need to change. They don't want to hear they need to change when the government has brought this economy to where it's at now. Yeah, you can argue we have global problems, world issues. We do. However, our government is doing one of the worst responses in the world to this. We are recovering from COVID way way slower than every other country.
Off of what I'm saying, though, all I'm trying to say is that if you listen to Dave Ramsey or any of these like financial advice people who used to be on like AM radio all the time, you listen to these guys, first thing they say, cut your credit cards, stop spending on your debt, go through your bank account and find out any monthly charges that you can get rid of them right away. That's the first thing they'll tell you to do.
Yeah. But you don't just go up and when you're making
no one wants to hear that from
$300K a year on just your base salary alone, let alone whatever else you have or passive income or investments you have that you're generating. You are basically living on at least $500,000 a year between you and your husband's income. So like think about that. $500,000 a year family, okay? Telling you
I agree with you. You're not
$12.99.
You're missing my point.
You're
like missing my point completely.
Now, Disney Plus, it's like it's so stupid. It's like how are you in this job? How are you in government? How are you doing this? Like you are retarded. Like, sorry, jeez. I shouldn't have said that. But I just like, it's just so ridiculous. Like, it's just like, how is that going to help? How is canceling your Disney Plus going to actually, like, I understand the principle, but right now, I think keeping your Disney Plus is a good thing if you can afford it. But it's not going to make that much of a difference over a month. What? Like, that's like, what? How much a day
but
in a
if
month
you go
anyways?
through your monthly
like
charges, you're not,
like 40 cents a day.
You're not listening
like 40 cents a day. What?
I understand what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that this really is financial advice that somebody would give to somebody who is struggling. This is genuinely the first thing they would say. Okay. So it's not, I agree with you. She's not necessarily struggling. And you know, that $12 a month might not make a huge difference to her. We can look at her bank account and make those judgments on her for that. Sure. But I'm just saying that that's not as out of touch as the Karina Gould thing. So that's all I wanted to say. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just trying to trigger the chat.
I think you triggered me more than the chat, honestly.
I know, I did, yeah.
It's just such a stupid comment. I couldn't believe she said that.
It's just not her place.
You know, it's not.
It comes off as arrogant, right?
Or like telling them to get rid of their car and stuff. It's just like, no. You know what? Like, fuck off, Christia. Fuck off. Like, who are you? Like, who are you to say this to us? Like, that's what makes me so mad.
How long was I here before I got... He wasn't like this before, right?
No.
I'm just saying, I'm laughing at me coming in and pissing you off right off the bat.
I'm so frustrated by that. To hear someone say I think they're both just equally on another freaking planet liberal, where somehow we're one of the best economies in the G7. It's just like, no, we're not. We're having a hard time.
That's
we're
out
having
of
a hard
touch.
time.
That's
At
out
least
of
just
touch.
acknowledge it. At least Mark Carney, one reason why I think the conservatives are afraid of him is because he's willing to admit there's problems, big problems that need to be fixed.
And he has some credibility there because he wasn't a part of the government, really. He was an advisor who apparently, like, according to him, wasn't being listened to, right? And that's a much better position to be in than, honestly, one of Trudeau's cronies.
I just, you know what I mean? Like for me personally, changes I've made when I'm going through financial hardship is I'll stop drinking beer. I'll be like, hey, no beer. I'll be like, first thing to go. Like every time.
Yeah, this is what I mean, though. It's the same thing,
that's,
right?
That's different.
It's a non-essential.
Yeah, but that can add up quite a bit. That can save you like $100 a month,
of course,
right? Like, and yeah, I guess
so
that's what I
can
spend on beer.
so can
sometimes, But like the reality is $12.99 a month. To act like that is gonna fix your problems. That is where the out of touch. That's
not the argument.
But that's
though.
how she sold it. It doesn't matter what the argument is.
Maybe sure. If that's how you took it, I get it. I agree. It's optics, is what it is. It's optically. Apparently this is how it came off to people, right? I'm just saying, retrospectively, I think that's a more in touch argument than the Karina Gould one.
Honestly,
But anyways, let's get back to the video.
She's out of touch with a $2,000 jacket, or $1,875 before tax jacket. So probably like a $2,200 jacket after taxes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to think someone like that understands what it's like to live like I have lived, or like most people in Canada live or have lived at some point.
I don't know if she has. I don't know. I know some MPs have. I don't think Karina Gould, this argument right here makes me think that that's definitely not true. She hasn't ever had to counter money.
Yeah. All I'm saying is anyone who comes in and acts like all your financial problems can be solved by canceling your Disney Plus, it's just like, come on. But
oh my God, that's not the argument though. It's count your.
I get what you're
non-essentials.
You're elaborating for her, right? She didn't elaborate herself that much.
Yeah, I agree. Optically,
after it got memed hard and she got dragged through the mud, then she's like, "Oh, I'm not mean like that." It's like, well, what else? What else did you mean, Christia? What else did you mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just stupid. It's like maybe they should start targeting.
Robin in the chat, LOL, Saul, first time ever saying, let's get back to the video. I didn't mean to derail this hard. I'm sorry.
I gotta check my wood stove though, because it's getting a little, I can tell it's getting a little bit too hot over there. I gotta go dim it down a little bit. Two big losers. Can't be as big of a loser as someone who comes in and calls people streaming two big losers. It's like, what do you think it's gonna do, dumbass? Like, get out of here.
On pollution, that's also not going to make up the difference. And where I'm glad Mark Carney has followed my lead on this is, because I announced this over 3 weeks ago, so I'm glad he's getting with the program here, is that we need to do things to help Canadians make the choices that they want to make. So I would bring back and increase the rebate for electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. I would include gas hybrids in that, because anything we are doing to reduce our emissions is a good thing. And I would bring back the home energy retrofit program. So, we have to, Canadians care about fighting climate. They care about making environmentally friendly choices, but I want to make it more affordable and more possible for them to make those choices.
Okay, just over a month to go in the race. We'll see what happens on March 9th. Karina Gould, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah.